Welcome, folks. Welcome to Thursday morning. It is Thursday morning, 11 o'clock. It's a Thursday. And what do you do on a Thursday? You listen to Alex Gordon on the Message Talk Show Thursday morning. You get your cup of coffee and you call your friends. You call everybody you know and you say, you've got to listen to this guy because he's got a guest on the show that's going to blow your mind today. An amazing guest. You know, when I had my pre-talk with this guest, she just couldn't stop talking. And do you believe it? She then told me that she doesn't like talking to big audiences. But today, I have an amazing guest on the show today who's going to blow your mind. But before she comes on, let's just talk. Let's just welcome you to the show. It is Thursday morning, 11 o'clock. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Some of you may be listening in the Midlands. Some of you may be listening in the Caribbean. Some may be listening in America. Some of you may be listening in Australia. So it's probably good night to you there. Wherever you are, good morning, good evening, and good night. The Message Talk Show is back with host Alex Gordon, here to inspire you, here to, you know, one of the things I always look for to connect with people, mission-centered, passionate individuals. Because I really believe that it's the mission-centered and passionate individuals who are going to change and bring change to this world. They'll bring change at every opportunity. So if you're mission-centered and passionate about what you do, you need to check me out, okay? If you're an entrepreneur, if you just have an idea that's coming out of you now, connect with me because I help people go from unknown to unforgettable. You see, in a market the way we are today, and I don't talk about, it's about blue ocean thinking, yeah? Blue ocean thinking. You have to become unforgettable. When people get in contact with you or make contact with you for the first time, after that, they must think, wow, this person is amazing. This person is amazing. So without further ado, let me just jump into the show with an amazing person today by the name of Sarah Townsend.
Hello, you're making me laugh already.
I'm making you laugh already. How can I make you laugh already? Sarah, how are you today?
I am wonderful and all the better for being with you.
All the better for being with me today. Well, today we're talking about how to transform your life. Sarah Townsend is a transformational coach. She is a mindset empowerment expert. Oh, do you hear that? Mindset empowerment expert. She believes in transformation. And, you know, at the first time I spoke to Sarah, and by the second or third time I spoke to her, she even changed her name. That's how powerful the transformation was. But this lady is an amazing lady. She's been around for some time, and I'm not going to go into the detail of what she does. She will tell you that. But the one thing that stands out to me is that she's the CEO of Makings of Love. I love that title. She is the CEO of Makings of Love. And you know what? She spent 5 years in the Territorial Army. So there's a story there. There's a story there. And this lady she's one of those people that when she steps in, she wants to see change. She wants to make change happen. She's passionate about change. And because she's passionate about change, she will make sure it takes place. She'll push you hard. So this is the lady you're going to be speaking to today. So Carol, how are you today?
So you've gone back to my old self.
Sarah, how are you today? Sarah, how are you today?
I am wonderful. I'm just thinking, wow, this person, do you know something I don't know? But I receive everything that you say.
Wow.
I receive it. It is mine to own now.
I think sometimes, you know, when you have a conversation with someone and when you talk to them prior to coming on the show, you glean so much from the conversation. You glean so much, you connect, and you sense their passion, you sense their power, and you really get a good insight into who that person is. And so today, that's what I'm talking about, this transformational person, this person who wants to help women change their lives. This person who's been called. Oh, let me say called. Called. Because the first conversation I had with you was when you shifted from being an employee to becoming an entrepreneur. Tell us a story there.
Okay, so what happened is last year, so for years, people have been saying to me, you should be stepping out of yourself and you should be, doing your own business. And I always thought, well, it will come when it happens. So last year, my organization went through a a big change. And I was thinking, right now it's time for me to go towards that CEO role because this is what my CEO was saying to me. But then I remember in the midst of all this, I felt my spirit saying to me, is this where you really should be going? So I remember praying and saying that if this is where I should be going, that's fine. But if not, then something major needs to happen in order for me to move out. And what happened? When it came back through this change in my organization, they wanted us to take a big pay cut. And that went against my core. So I just thought, that's it, I'm out of here. So I took the redundancy. Everyone could not believe that after 18 years, that I was going to leave this organization. And so on the 24th of March, when everything went into lockdown, that was the day that I actually left my organization. And that really just, it kind of hit me because I knew that a team was going to be put together to help me to go forward. And that team went there. So I had to do things on my own with the help of my daughter, so not on my own. So that's when Makings of Love actually came into fruition. The name was implemented last year, but then I actually kind of, 24th of March, okay, what am I going to do? So I stepped out.
But why the makings of love? Where did that come from?
Okay, so my cause is built on the Christian principles of unconditional love. So what unconditional love does, it helps you to get to know who you are. So when I was working with, so just to correct one thing that you said, I'm not just here to work with women. I'm here to work with women and men across all rages, all religion, all sexuality, because love is universal, okay?
Wow.
And it's very inclusive.
Wow.
So what happens is that when I was working with individuals, bringing it from the place of hopelessness, they don't know where they are, because I worked in the field of domestic abuse, okay? And then many people don't think it happens to men, but it does happen to everyone. So when I was seeing the changes in them, the transformations going from a place of hopelessness to a place of being in charge of their life, I thought, right, these individuals just need to learn how just to be with themselves. But what happens when you get to know yourself? It has an impact in so many other different areas of your life. So first of all, I called it Ingredients of Love, but that name was taken. So I thought, what else is going to happen? And the reason why I thought about Makings of Love as well, I don't know if I shared this with you, but so many individuals were saying to me that their intimacy, their sex life improved so much. So I thought, oh, so why not call it Makings of Love? So it incorporates all the ingredients, and then you know that yes, it's mainly focused, it's the only focus is on you, but then it's the benefit it has in all other areas of your life. So Makings of Love. So you make love, you enjoy yourself and you enjoy your partner, or you enjoy anybody that you're around.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's where the acronym charity comes from.
So what happens with charity? Do you know, I went through so many different name changes. So the original name for unconditional love was charity. That was first used in England. And so the acronym was creating harmony and real intimacy in you, because that's what it should be. It's about, we are going to live with ourselves for the longest. We're going to have the relationship we will have, the longest relationship we will have will be with ourselves. So why are we not having harmony? The real intimacy should be with me. So whatever intimacy I have with me, whoever I share that with, whoever's presence I am in, it will just transfer naturally over into that environment. So that's where it came from.
So the longest relationship I'm going to have is with myself.
Is with yourself. Because even imagine if you met someone at 16 years of age, okay, and you've known yourself for 16 years. If you've known them for a year, they've only known you one, but you've known yourself for 16 years. You've got all that information on yourself that you've got to share with them. Wow. So, of course, so the longest relationship you're going to have with yourself is yourself.
But let me dig that deep, because you said I've known myself, but yeah. What if I existed? I've existed for 20, 25 years, but I didn't really come to the true understanding of who I am until mid-20s.
Okay, so even if you've existed, you still got that information. Whether the information is good or whether it's bad, it's still information. You've got that nobody else has got. And it's for you to share that with someone. So yeah, you may get to 25. So now you're seeing, okay, now I need to reflect. Now I need to sit back. Now I need to kind of understand what was going on in my life. What do I want to keep? What do I want to let go of? You still have that information. Nobody else has that.
Wow. Wow. So
Nobody.
you come from a background of the territorial army.
Yeah, that was an experience.
So that I'm sure that makes you a no nonsense taker. Yes.
God, you would think that, wouldn't you? Oh God. So I went into the territorial army because I grew up in a Christian environment and it was very secluded. I weren't exposed to anything. So when I got to the age of 17 and a half, I knew I needed to know more, I needed to experience the world. And the plus was getting paid as well. And one of my friends had joined the territorial army. So I thought, well, why not? So I went into territorial army and it was an eye opener. Oh God, it was an eye opener. And no, I was very quiet in the territorial army. I'll tell you how quiet I was in there. We had a reunion. Every year they had a reunion, and I went on, I think, the 15th year of the reunion after leaving. And imagine I'm 6 feet tall, and I was always, when you're in the army, the tallest person is always right-hand marker, so everybody knew who I was. And there's very few black people in the territorial army. When we sat down to have this reunion, nobody could remember me.
What?
That is how quiet it was.
What do you mean nobody could remember you?
I was so quiet. I literally did not say anything, the boot or goose. And one of the sergeant majors said to me, I remember you. We went to Aviemore, didn't we go skiing? He goes, yeah. And he goes, I remember I was the first person that danced with you. Because she didn't say a word, went no. Everybody else that remembered, only, but I was so insular. I'd never been taught to have a voice, to speak. You know, when your parents are telling you that you should be seen and not heard.
Hey.
And I didn't know what I was told what my values are. And so often that is what happens. You're told what your value are. Your family tells you this is what you believe, this is where you should be going, maybe what a career you can have. You're going to remain in this Christian faith. You're going to have this job. So everything was being told to me, but nobody actually turned around and said, but what does Sarah want? Even though it was Carol at the time.
Wow.
What does Sarah want? What does Sarah believe? So going into this environment, I didn't know what to say. I was just kind of learning. And what I loved about these individuals, how forthright they were, how they were so determining what they were going to do. They didn't care whether their lies were decent or not. They just knew how we're going to act. And I liked that. And I remember that maybe that just birthed something in me that was saying, wow, I need to get to know myself. I don't even know who I am. That's why I didn't say anything. I was 6 feet tall, but nobody remembered. But then they didn't remember me afterwards being quiet. They remembered all the things that happened that nearly killed me. All the things that nearly killed me. But I never got involved in conversations. I never added any opinions. I didn't do anything. Actually, so many of the activities that I had that were great, I never even went to the activities because I didn't know how I would fit in.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
So I was lost. I was a very, very lost individual. God, you're asking me questions that I've never actually considered before. Wow.
But if you think about it, let's go back to you. You said that in your home you were told the values. You were kind of guided. But if I can remember in my own life, it's like protection. Your family's trying to protect you from everything that they think that's bad out there, and so they ring fence everything that you do and say. And I'm sure they didn't mean any harm. Am I correct?
Well, that is so true. And so do you know when I'm working on this course and with doing things with individual, I always say to them that our parents do the best that they think they are doing, but they don't know sometimes they're doing the best how much danger they're exposing us to as well. So I'll give you just a simple example. So girls are often being told that they should be nice. Girls are often told that, you should be polite and that you shouldn't answer back and you shouldn't really have an opinion. So we are polite and we are good girls. And I recently heard a guy that wrote a book called The Gift of Fear. And he goes, so many ladies have been murdered or got themselves into danger rates simply because of being nice. They've entertained a conversation with someone who they felt that they shouldn't be doing it. But in the back of the head, they're being told, but you're a nice girl. You shouldn't come across as if that you're rude. You should entertain them. You should speak to people. So look at that. We were told something good, but yet in the long run, it had a detrimental impact on us. So when I'm teaching individuals now, I'm teaching them actually, we need to critically analyze everything that's been said to us. And it can be an upheaval for someone when you have to sit down and think, listen to that silent voice now that you've never been taught to listen to that silent voice, and think about, is this what I really want to do? Is this is this the way I want to go forward? What is right for me? What is wrong for me now? And that is what we have to do in order to get to the place of knowing who we are.
Wow, that's. I mean, I'm just lost for words there with that example that you gave, whereby you're taught to be nice,
Yeah.
and you are so nice that you're in danger, and you can't stop being nice.
You can't. Well, that was the one thing when everything I teach on the course, when that really hit me, because okay, so one thing I always do is go back to the original meaning of the word. And every time a lady came into my organization, because we first started off working with ladies, and what hit me the most, Alex, was the fact that there were so many Christian Black women that came in. And I tell you why that hit me the most. One, because I knew I was so timid and I wouldn't allow a guy to abuse me. So I was shocked to see so many African Caribbean women who I knew were forthright. Also, the fact that there were Christian women. So here we are, we're in an environment where we're taught about unconditional love. We know that nobody should harm us, but yet within this loving environment, this is happening. So as I was talking to all these women, what came out was that they were all nice. So when I looked at the original word nice, it's a 15th century Middle English word meaning ignorant, meaning stupid, and just
Wow,
meaning that you are a simple pushover. So when I
ignorant and
understood
stupid.
that, yeah. So when I understood that and I put it back and I said to them, you're just kind of a pushover then. You didn't have this information. And they just connected. And then this book, when I only heard about it about a week ago, and when he said exactly the same thing, all these women were nice. The gut feelings were saying to them, don't talk to this person, don't go down this avenue. But no, I can't go against my core. My core is saying to me, you have to be nice.
Wow.
So we have to really obliterate that language, that word out of every person's life.
Wow.
And if you think about it, in all of the good books, do you ever see nice in the Bible?
No.
Have you ever seen nice in the Bible? No.
I'm just running through my head right now to the how many, 6,000 pages? 354 chapters. Wow, isn't that amazing though? So it's so important for us to even question everything that we've been told and taught.
Every single thing, because right now we need to, if you sat down with yourself and you're thinking that, okay, I've been told that this is going to be X, Y, Z in my life, and you've been given this word. Where's that coming from that person? Is it coming from pain? Is it coming from anxiety? Is it coming from joy? Where's it coming from? We need to know where it's coming from. Because a lot of time our parents, as you were saying before, put their fears and expectations, put their own meaning on a word, then we just take it on board. It's like, is it when you remember the lamb explanation with the oven, where this young girl was seen and one putting the lamb in the oven, but always cutting off the leg. Do you remember that? And they said, Mum, why have you done that? And she goes, I don't know, watched your grandma do it. So she went, Grandma, why are you always cutting off the leg, the end of the leg? And she goes, I don't know, my mum did it. So she went to great grandma, why did you do it? She goes, oh, well, in the war, the oven weren't big enough. So in order to get the leg of lamb in, what did they do? They cut it off to fit in. So when you don't ask the question, you follow.
Wow.
You follow it. And there's something called the psychological identification. And it's where we're always trying, subconsciously, unconsciously, we're looking at following someone's behavior, a significant other. So if the behavior is creative and healthy, fantastic. And if it's not, if it's bad, then it's going to have a negative impact on your life. But as we've just explained, even a good behavior could actually put you in danger as well. So you're right, everything has to be analyzed.
Wow.
everything.
This is amazing. So I'm coming to that question where the question is why transformation, but I'm beginning to see now. I think I can see. But why transformation? Why did you bracket yourself as a transformational coach
Because of the
or brand
transformation,
yourself?
because of the transformation that I've seen in people's life. And
Wow.
I never set out to be a transformational coach. You know what I set out to do? Just to deliver the truth. That's
Wow.
all I set out to do. And then I was so surprised at when people taking on the truth and just running with it, what happened. So when I mean transformation, I mean literal transformations. So one of the biggest miracles I have ever seen was this lady that came into the environment. We sat down and I think she was diagnosed with 4 different mental health illnesses. And I just thought, Lord, what am I going to do with this woman? She couldn't even look at me. Anyway, I went through my normal things, my normal talk. As far as I'm concerned, this is where I need you to be. I don't need you to be in this place. So I was trying to have this conversation with her. And you know, when someone's just head is down all the time, and I just thought, okay. So I gave her the homework that I normally give the homework. She went away, and I rang her 2 weeks later and to arrange another meeting. And she went, oh, Carol, I'm fine. I said, what do you mean you're fine? She goes, well, I did what you told me to do. And she goes, once, whatever you told me to do, she goes, I felt as if her arm had just gone down, put itself around me. And she goes, and everything's fine. I said, what do you mean? Do you know when you can't believe something? You've got 4 mental health illnesses. You can't even work. You are being abused systematically, and you're thinking that you need this love. Oh, and I've left the person, by the way. I've ended the relationship. Oh, and by the way, this. And I went, no. So she stopped all the medication, stopped the therapy she was doing because it was deep therapy. But I said, you're not stopping me because I need to see you. So we met up in this meeting. And when someone tells me that they moved on, I need to drill them. And I said to her, have you heard me? I said to her, do you mind meeting me for the next 4 or 5 weeks? Because I really need to still do the work on you. And she was so open. She was not defensive at all. She went, okay, let's meet up. And Alex, 5 weeks on, she's off the medication, moved house, moved job. This person had a thing of OCD where everything has to be in the right place. I looked at the new home and thought, what's going on? She goes, oh yeah, that's fine. When it gets healed, when I get time around to tidy, I'll tidy it. So that's what I mean by transformation. And that's just one of many, but that was one of the biggest ones.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's the truth that set them free. Do you know that saying, the truth will set them free?
So let me condense this now. Let me condense this because we only have you for 30 minutes and time's disappearing. We're enjoying this show and people out there need to understand what you're talking about and how you can help them. So when we're talking about how to transform your life, if we were to condense this into 3 or 4 steps, what would you recommend people do to transform their lives?
Because what they have to do, personal development is the key. So if you're unable to do that on your own, you need to make sure that you get somewhere that's going to look at you understanding who you are. And basically it's not about, so there's 2 things. You can do counseling or you can do coaching. So what I do is coaching. What coaching does, rather than focus on the problem, it's less on the problems of where you are going to. So what you're looking to do, if there's a feeling of disconnect or uncertainty in you, that needs to be addressed. Sometimes we just dismiss it and we say that this is okay. No, it's your body telling you that something needs to be done. So do not dismiss it. In order to transform, look at the things that you are attached to. Anything that you are attached to that's outside of yourself, that can be removed. That means it's going to be controlling your emotions. Remember, I started off by saying the most important relationship will be the one that you have with you. So you need to start having that relationship with yourself. You need to start creating that harmony inside of yourself. And then the third one, I would say, start enjoying your personal space. So many people don't like having time on their own and having space, but space allows you to be you, an individual to be you, so you can actually hear yourself, getting clarity and listening to yourself, and so you start getting answers. One thing I teach people on my course is that, whenever your body is reacting to something, don't say that I don't understand. Stay with it until you understand whether it's a week, whether it's 2 weeks, whether it's 3 weeks. Even myself, who's been on this journey for a long time, I've had an instant in my body for the past 6 weeks. But because I know what I have to do, I stayed with it until I got a release on Monday. Your body should not be in strife. It should be in unrest. Your body should be in peace. And that's one of the main things about knowing your identity, that you get peace inside first, so you can get peace outside. And I'm going to also nick a quote from Maya Angelou. She said, this is what success is. Success is knowing yourself, and remember, knowing yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. So get to like yourself, like how you are, and like what you do.
Wow.
With no disconnect.
Like yourself. Know yourself, like yourself, and like what you do. So you're telling me that there's thousands of people out there who really don't like themselves?
I would say there's a vast majority of people who don't like themselves, and they're not aware of it because we've got so used to being comfortable in our state. And so many times we compare ourselves to other people, and we compare ourselves to the narrative that, do you know what, this life is successful. I've got the house, I've got the car, I've got the children, I've got the holiday, and I'm not as bad as that person anyway. So do you know what? Yeah, this is really good. So we sit with that. And if our life is better than the average person, we think, okay, this is fine. But if you've not been on that journey of self-reflection, and if there's even just one little bit of discord in you, when you're sat down, that feeling of not feeling 100% satisfied, 100% fulfilled, then there's a journey for you to do. And this goes from the CEO, from the person who's just come into the country, who's got English as their second language.
Wow, folks, do you hear that? There is a journey for you to do. Sarah Townsend today is telling you to be transformed. You've got to go on that journey yourself. You have to personally develop yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to know yourself and like what you do. Now, there's one thing I want you to elaborate on before we disappear today. And that's a statement that you made yesterday. You said, don't leave your brains at the door.
Do you know? Okay, so quite sure. So what happened is, remember, I've written a book and I weren't quite sure of the title. I'd given it a title, That's It, Creating Harmony, Real Intimacy in You. But I met a lady, and this lady I'd known previously, and it's a person that you wouldn't necessarily mess around with. I know I would never mess around with her. That's what people say about me as well. But anyway, she said she'd been on a journey. She had met this group of people, and she was nice. So she gave herself over to these people in this group because they said they could help her. In the process of that, they'd abused her so much that it affected her mental health. So I looked at her and I said to her, so you left your brains at the door? And she looked at me and said, well, yeah, I suppose I did. I thought, wow. So that's where that came from. So my book is called Don't Leave Your Brains.
But how do you mean to leave your brains at the door? Your brain's in your head all the time. How can you leave your brains at the door?
Because you're taking on other people's opinions, other people's influences, other narratives, the media, your church, your religion. Do you know how many people are being controlled in church that don't even know how to dream?
People can't dream.
They don't know how to dream. If you're supposed to ask the majority of Christian people, what's your dream? They wouldn't be able to tell you.
Oh, that's my book, that's my book I bought years ago. I always talk about, what is your dream? It's the first speech I ever gave. What is your dream? Wow. Well, I'm rushing you now. So we have some comments coming up from outside. And one of the questions is, when did you feel called to be a coach?
I didn't feel, do you know, it's crazy. I didn't feel called to be a coach. First of all, I was going to be, I'm a qualified counselor, and that's what I was doing. I was doing first. However, as I was going through, this journey of working with people who's experienced domestic abuse, and I realized there were so many things that was consistent that I just thought all they need is to know the foundational tips to not allow them to be abused or go down a road where they weren't taken advantage of. So I suppose I just put the word coach on that. Because what I was doing is like, listen, you don't need to be devolving all your information to me. You just need to know these principles, and these things are going to protect you and save you and move you forward in life. So that, I suppose, it just came out of that.
Wow, we have Michael Earl saying self-love. Self-like. Now you've got some fans here out there talking about self-love and self-like.
And
And
self-love is good if you know yourself, because so many people talks about self-love, but then again, I have to sit and I say, what is yourself? Tell me about who you are. Tell me where your beliefs have derived from. Tell me whose opinions that you are living on. What are you attached to mostly? Then we can talk about whether this self-love is real. It's this concept of being real. Is it real, or is it coming from somewhere else?
wow. Wow. Is it coming? How could is your self-love coming from somewhere else?
Yeah, or yes, something. What is it attached to?
What
And
is
with
it attached to?
And I suppose within this season as well, isn't COVID, how many people have not been able to cope with this season? And I've just thrived. I just thought, God, I love being with me. And that's part of knowing your identity. It's just knowing how important it is to have this time for yourself to develop and to grow and to
Hey,
be in touch.
hey,
It's
but remember, your key giveaway was that the day we locked down, you jumped into a journey. The day we locked down, you dived into a journey. So you had purpose flying in the middle of the lockdown.
flying. And that's what knowing your identity is all about. Your identity is just a journey, isn't it? So the peace is there, but peace, I love the definition of peace. Peace is not the lack of strife and not having problems. It's how you manage all situations that comes to you. Remember, we have everything that we need for life and for godliness, every single thing. So when peace comes, when conflict comes, sometimes it's peace is there in order to get through that conflict. So
Hey,
use everything that you've got to see through that conflict and to get you out of that conflict.
Rachel said, I love that book.
What book's that?
That title you gave, you said, when don't leave your brains at the door. She's expecting to be able to go and buy that book tomorrow,
You know what?
today.
Well, we talked about that, isn't it? I'm gonna get a person to help me just proofread that and get it out there. And the book's absolutely amazing. Again, it's the principles of getting you back to the I call it the deeper I.
Wow.
Deeper I, that is who we need to get back to. So you get back to the deeper I. And then the second part of the book, now this is when I worked in domestic abuse, but I believe it's still relevant today. But the second half of the book is about the perpetrator, but I've given him all titles. Like the kind guy is Mr. Kisso, Mr. Knight in Shining Armor. And then Mr. Salesman, I've given them all titles.
Mr. Knight in Shining Armor.
Because when an individual comes to harm you, they're never evil. They're nice. They're so beautiful. So I put all the positive attributes so you can be aware of all these things. And then if you get caught in it, then you go back to the beginning of the book that shows you how to stop yourself getting caught in that.
This book has to be out by December.
Well, we're going to work on that, aren't we, Alex? You've given me someone.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And we have Rachel says, I love you, Sarah Townsend.
I love you too, Raquel.
Amazing. People are just loving your story, loving what you bring, loving what you represent, loving the transformation that you're talking about. And the mindset approach, because everything you've spoken about so far begins with the mind.
Oh, it definitely. And actually, when you look at the identity, the identity comes from the heart. As a man thinketh, so is he. Because you get your thoughts into the mind, but then what happens is what you meditate on. So it's the things that meditate on that tells people who you are. So if you can get your meditation right, then what happens, your beliefs then transforms into your behavior. Get your meditations right, then you form habits that's going to manage your behaviors. So that's why I always looking at the heart. It said the heart can be desperately wicked. And when I talk about wicked, I'm not talking about big things. It's the little foxes. As she said, you're not going to be nice anymore.
Right.
We're gonna eradicate that, and you're not going to take on people's words. You're not going to take on people's words. You're going to take on your own words. And then the thing is that there's only basic things. There's 5-6 basic things that you need to work on for your identity. The massive, because what's happening at the moment, the course that I'm running at the moment, I've asked them to do homework, but just feeding with me every day. And Two of them that are doing it, I still find it really, really challenging, but the others can't do it at all.
Okay,
But the
so
reason why,
give us three of those things to find your identity. Give us three.
well, three of the things to find your identity is, first of all, it's giving yourself space. It's giving space, self space to think, same to move forward, to analyze, to process. It's all the knowledge and the understanding that when you talked about yourself, supposing if you get to 20 years old and you don't understand and you think you know yourself, well, you have to start on that journey yourself. Then what you have to do is also look at the place of full acceptance, warts and all of who you are. If you can't accept yourself, everything that you are, because guess what? Who you are is relevant for today. Here, I hated being tall. I hated being black, dark skin. I hated being skinny. But Alex, why is it I hated all those things? Because of what everybody else told me, so which meant I couldn't function.
Wow.
And even if you hate all those things, you're still functioning. There's a barrier that you put up that people can't even get close to you. So you've got to have
Wow.
space, yeah. And then you've got to also accept all of you, and then you've got to love personal development. But personal development, it's not just about you looking at yourself, then it's also going around to other people as well to see how they see you. What you are giving off, is it being received? And if it's not, what's the disconnect?
Wow. It's almost like looking in the mirror, isn't it?
100%. And you've even got to those people who don't like you. It's not just people who like you, even people that don't like. I remember once going to a guy that I thought, God, this guy doesn't like me, but I needed to get feedback off him because I went to this pastor and she gave me some feedback and it didn't resonate with me. I went, that's not me. So I said to this guy, can you just give me some feedback? Am I hardware? He goes, you definitely hardware. And I was so shocked. I went, oh my God. But you're hardware because of that God you keep on talking about. So I went, oh, that is fine then.
Hey.
That is fine.
Your hard work because of the purpose in you.
So it's good to get feedback because you need to hear why that person's calling you that. That's why you need to get the feedback.
Wow. It's been a pleasure talking to you today, Sarah.
It's been a pleasure talking. It's lovely meeting you, Ali. It's really, really good. And you've made my first virgin experience enjoyable.
Your first virtual experience enjoyable. You have so much to say. You have so much to give. You have so much to touch people's lives with. And it's like a tap. Once you open the tap, it just flows. It's just flow. It's flowing out of you. It's flowing out of you. And before we go, is there, you mentioned earlier that, there's so much that happened in your life in your early years that was sort of like a ring of fence around you. It protected you from everything else. And, somehow you have to now believe that some of that protection has helped you to become the person you are today. Is there any one person that you'd say that's influenced you in your life, that's really impacted you to the outcome that we see today?
Two people. Can I put two people?
Yes, you're fine. You're talking. I'm not.
First one is my mum. Has to be my mum. My mum was illiterate. She couldn't read. She couldn't write, but she knew herself. My mum was such a quiet individual, but guess what? A no nonsense woman. When my mum said no, she meant no, and she loved unconditionally. I remember this psychologist said to me how much my mum loved me, because what happened, I got pregnant in church, and because I was so young and I didn't know myself and I hated myself, I didn't think I could bring this child into this world. So the guy didn't want me to have the child. So I thought, well, he said have an abortion, why not have one? But my mum picked up in the spirit that I was pregnant, then she picked up that I was going to have an abortion. So I didn't have the abortion. And then it wasn't until my child was 7 that my mum turned around and said that I broke her heart. And when I was sharing this with a psychologist, she said, wow, what unconditional love that is. That even though you broke your mum's heart, you never ever felt it, you never experienced it. And that, wow, I said, that is so deep. So that was the first person. And so I'm trying to, her legacy as well, I'm trying to emulate. And then the second person has to be my daughter. oh my God, this is going to get me emotional. I won't say nothing about my daughter, because if I say anything about my daughter, I'm just going to burst into tears. But yes, yeah, leave it there. My daughter has just been such an inspiration. She was given to me in order to start to learn how to love myself. And in having her, and that's why I'm telling everyone, you ask what we should do. Can I ask everybody to start listening to your spirit? Your spirit is just the best guide ever. So when I had this child, I didn't know how to raise her. So as beautiful as my mum was, there's loads of things I said I never wanted a life like my mum. Okay, that I thought the home I raised in was so abusive that I didn't want to be raised in that home like that. So I didn't want this for my child. So when I became a Christian, I remember the Holy Spirit began to guide me in everything that I needed. When I said literally guide me, I looked at 1 Corinthians 13, loved unconditional love, didn't understand it. He said, but just follow it. And he guided me. So do you know what happened? When it's like knowing your identity, by the time my daughter was 12, he sent me 3 guys I knew from the world, who I knew these guys were players and things like that. And these 3 guys told me by the time my daughter was 12 that no one would ever mess about with her. No guy would ever mess about with her. I went, how can you say that? She's 12. But you know why that was because of? I mean, listening to my gut instinct, listening to the Holy Spirit, following through on that, and not listening to no one else. So we need to listen. That the first voice that comes to you, the first prompt, obey it. And in obeying that, that's why I said she's been an inspiration. Because I look at her, I remember I felt in my spirit, if I put as much energy in myself as I put in her, I would have been a different person many years younger. But it's never too late. I'm not 6 feet in the grave, so I'm still growing and I'm still transforming and I'm still moving forward.
Some people call it gut feel. Some people call
it's gut feeling.
Person. Some people call it the spirit. Whatever you think it is.
Whatever you think it is, yeah.
Because
gut feeling, spirit.
Because you got,
yeah. Because everybody's been made in the image and likeness of God. Check this out. When you read any body book, 99.9% of everybody is exactly the same. Listen to that. 99.9%. We are all the same. And that confirms what God says, that we are made in his image and likeness. So it's only 0.1% that is different. And it's only that 0.1% that we're asking to control. That's why anybody that steps out of that 99.9% is a leader. So if you only get that 0.1% of people that will step outside and think, okay, because everybody else is following the 99.9% of people. So you can possibly believe that 99.9% of people are not living life to their fullest. They may be happy, they may be contented because everybody's told them that's what it is. But the 0.1% is thinking, no, let me listen to my spirit, let me listen to my gut, let me listen to my truth, let me go against the norm. And that's the 0.1% that we all should be moving towards. The uniqueness of who we are.
There is so much work to be done, Sarah.
Oh, there's so much work to be done.
Do you know, I in the last 3 years, and I've been looking around and seeing my community step up to the coaching field, especially in the last 3 years. I've seen the brandings that I've never seen before. I've seen people step up and becoming coaches in such niche markets, such areas. And you always think, why is this needed? And it's when you start listening to people like yourselves, you realize there is so much work to be done on the person. And we cannot do that work on ourselves.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a coach.
Everyone needs a coach. And if you get a good coach, by the time you finish that thing, because now you'll get this life plan that you can use for the rest of your life. You will have the success skills in there that you know how to maintain it, and you'll have the blueprint, and that will take you through.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, fans, we've been talking today about how to transform your life. And we've had an amazing guest on the show by the name of Sarah Townsend, an amazing lady, full of such vigor, full of so much things inside of her that just wants to help you transform your life. But before we go, because we're on the moment now, any minute now, we're going to go. But let's just go to our sponsor.
You are listening to the Message Talk Show and Podcast. Do you believe you have something to share? Do you believe you have something to contribute? Do you have a story to tell the world, to share with your community. Gandhi said, man often becomes what he believes himself to be. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So join us on the Message Talk Show and Podcast with host Alex Gordon.
Sarah, you've got a fan base out there. You know, the messages are just peeping out there. The messages are just peeping. So the Rachel Morris, she made a statement. She said that you'd coached her before and you were hard on her. Yes, you were hard on her when you coached her. And she also said that time with self. She talks about time with self, hard but not so much anymore. It has transformed her life, enabling her to be able to just have time with self.
Oh yeah, and she's put about that journaling. Journaling is so important. Thank you, Raquel. If you cannot journal, you're going to miss so much of your life.
Wow.
You will journal out of your spirit, and you will not even know what you are writing until you look back at it. Wow. I've journaled things that I didn't know that I was journaling. Have I got time to tell a quick story?
Well, sometimes I ask people to give me the one word. Sometimes I ask them to give me a sentence. But you know, when you have Black speakers, Caribbean or African speakers on your program, and you ask them for a sentence or a paragraph, they give you a chapter. So I'm not going to hold you back, all right? So just give us that sentence now.
Just quickly, I wrote something and then I didn't, and I had to page it. So I just went my page and I went, did I write that I'm not going to date for a year? No way I would have wrote that. But anyway, as I went round to my friends, 6 of my friends said, yeah, you told me that you weren't going to date for a year. I went, what? The last person I spoke to was my pastor. And he went, Carol, you told me that. He goes, ain't it funny? You told everyone else, but you didn't tell yourself. So at that time, I never ever used to look back at my notes. So when you journal, look back at your notes.
When you journal,
look back at your notes.
Look back at your notes.
Yeah, I used to just say to people, just journal just to get it out of you. And that's when I realized you write so many things out of your spirit that you don't even know that you're writing. I would never have written that I'm not going to date for a year. That's ridiculous. Why am I going to put that?
But you did.
But I did. So you're right, Raquel. Thank you so much. Journaling is so important. My daughter journals every single day. She'll write 3 pages.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. And the Bible tells you to journal. It said, write everything down, make it clear.
Make it plain, make it plain.
And all your stepping stones, use them as a remembrance. So our notes now are our stepping stones, our remembrance.
All right, so the one question that's come back again, when is the book coming out? Well, we're saying the book will be out by December. Yes, Sarah? The book will be out by December.
Right. Do you know what? It will be out by December.
Don't leave your brains at the door. Hey, don't leave your brains at the door. Hey, that is so relevant for every young person today, for every middle-aged person today, for every elderly person today, for everyone. Don't leave your brains at the door. You have to think things through for yourself. You have to assess things for yourself. You cannot let other people direct you and tell you what to do without your assessment. Am I correct, Sarah?
You are so correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for tuning into the show today. I thank you for connecting with how to transform your life with Sarah Townsend. And Sarah, I know we're in lockdown now, but what are you doing at the moment that people can tap into?
So I've got a group on Facebook called Makings of Love. You can access that. I am running a live session next week on Knowing Your Identity. So if you find me on Instagram under Makings of Love and just click on the link in the bio and join me next week, Wednesday, be on there for an hour. Then I'll also tell you about my course that I'll be starting next month as well, if you want to join me in transforming yourself. And I'm also talking to my friend about doing some free courses as well that hopefully will be up and running in the next, say, 6 weeks or so. So just out there to help people.
So look for Makings of Love on Instagram. That's the handle, Makings of Love, and connect with Sarah on her program. Sarah, it's been amazing talking to you.
It's been lovely meeting you, Alice, and thank you everybody for joining in.
It's the connection, what you have to say, let's come out of COVID, man, and put on some seminars across the country.
Yes.
This message needs to get out. People's lives.
Yeah. Oh, Alex, we've connected, definitely.
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for tuning into the show. We're about to go. I've been trying to go for the last 10 minutes, and this lady's been holding me back. But, Sarah, don't disappear now. We're going to say thank you, and thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you for connecting. And on a Thursday, 11 o'clock, just get your coffee, get your tea, get your breakfast, get your porridge, whatever you get. Tune into the show. Get your friends on the show, because your life will be transformed, because we speak to mission-centered, passionate people about what they do. We believe these are the people who are going to change the earth and change the way we do business and change the way we do things. Thank you for listening. Miss the show. You got to be on the show.